I use American oak, I use French oak, and I use Hungarian oak, and also Macedonian oak.
Winemaker Jordan Trajkov is facing an unusual challenge.
So the label says Republic of Macedonia.
Yes.
He has to change the labels on all of his bottles, and it's going to be expensive.
20,000 euros just to change the labels.
Just to change the labels.
It's part of the cost of doing business in this ambitious country that just last February took the extraordinary step of changing its name from the Republic of Macedonia to North Macedonia, something the government says was necessary to make political peace with its neighbor, Greece. Zoran Zaev, Prime Minister of North Macedonia, led the controversial name change campaign. It's part of his plan to go all out to align with the West. His country of about 2 million people is located just north of Greece. Ever since it gained independence from the former Yugoslavia, Zaev says it's had two parallel objectives.
Since independence in 1991, the first prime goals for our country is membership of NATO, because of security and participation of keeping peace all around the world, and our membership in the European Union.
But those aspirations, being part of the NATO military alliance and the EU single market, were being blocked by Greece for a reason that may seem arcane. Greece has a region called Macedonia, the birthplace of Alexander the Great. The name dates back to ancient history, when historical Macedonia contained parts of 6 Balkan countries, including modern-day Greece and North Macedonia. By claiming the name Republic of Macedonia in 1991, the new country angered Greece.
Were there ever any ambitions on the part of North Macedonia to actually annex parts of Greece because of the name?
Discussions on territorial claims border science fiction.
Dr. Simonita Kacharska is director of a local pro-EU think tank called the European Policy Institute.
If we take a look back, especially when these arguments were made in the early 1990s, Macedonia was a country without the army. So these claims, in many ways, have been also misused by politicians, both in Greece for nationalistic reasons, and then later on at certain points in Macedonia as well, that having led to an escalation of the conflict for the next 27 years.
Albania, they're a member of NATO.
Albania is a member of NATO. Greece is a member.
North Macedonia's Deputy Prime Minister Bujar Osmani says there was a natural desire for Macedonia to be part of both NATO and the EU.
We are surrounded by EU and NATO member states.
And he says the United States, which was looking for a stable partner in the region, has been very involved, helping negotiate peace between its ethnic Albanian and Macedonian population, and helping grow the country's democratic institutions from scratch.
The United States, through their USAID program, has spent $1 billion in the last 20 years in the country to build up the institutions, establishing the rule of law and maintaining the interethnic relations that will provide stability of the country.
Although they're different entities, the EU and NATO have similar requirements for membership, including that votes to allow new members must be unanimous. When the then Republic of Macedonia thought it was going to be admitted to NATO in 2008, Greece vetoed it, and later made it clear it would block the country's membership in the EU as well.
Membership in NATO and also the European Union for this part of the world is understood as a validation of your statehood. The citizens, they overwhelmingly support NATO and EU membership, between 70 and 80% of the population. So if this is a shared goal and everyone's been working towards it, then the disappointment that comes with it is also big.
After Greece's veto, Macedonia's then right-wing nationalist government was emboldened and amped up tensions with Greece by launching a huge building project in the country's capital, Skopje. It erected dozens of statues of what it claimed were Macedonian heroes, like Alexander the Great, whom Greece claims as its own. Then, in 2017, a new pro-Western government was voted in, led by Prime Minister Zaev. He held talks with then Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras and signed an agreement which contained Zaev's promise to dial back the nationalism and rename the country North Macedonia to distinguish itself from the Greek province. Headlines called it a breakthrough agreement. Zaev and Tsipras were both nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
I'm very proud. For me, it's a history. I am proud, my children are proud, my friends are proud. Why? Because I helped to my country, finally, after 28 years, to be part of the modern Western democratic world.
Besides changing the name, the country has renamed the highway leading to Greece Friendship Highway, changed the airport's name from Alexander the Great to Skopje International, and is considering how best to publicly identify this statue and others to make it clear they're not Macedonian per se, but part of ancient Greek history. But the name change has also proved deeply unpopular to many.
I identified myself as Macedonian. My country is Macedonia, Republic of Macedonia.
Vladimir Chetkar is a well-known Macedonian musician and outspoken name change critic.
It's very unfortunate that we are put in a position to be apologetic of who we are. To say, I'm sorry, I'm Macedonian, oh, I'm sorry that I said that. This is the feeling, and I definitely think that nobody should, no nation in the world should go through this.
But the government insists the change to the country's name will pay off in the end. Already, it says the work it's done to meet EU standards has contributed to a better economy, a drop in unemployment, and increased wages. Zaev says he also wants to do more to lure back the thousands of young people who have left the country looking for better opportunities. People like Martina Naumovska.
I have friends that left, and I have also many friends that came back, which is the good thing.
Naumovska studied and worked in the EU before deciding to return to help run and teach at a new IT startup in her home country.
When I finish a class in Macedonia, I feel like I did something great, which is a feeling that, only probably you can have when you do something in a country that you're raised in and where your roots are.
This week, the EU Council is scheduled to vote on whether to let North Macedonia start the process of joining the EU. It's an important step, but a bureaucratic process that will still take several years to complete, and there are obstacles ahead. France has expressed skepticism about allowing any new EU members. North Macedonia's former chief special prosecutor has been arrested in an extortion scandal, raising EU concerns about corruption.
Are you optimistic that North Macedonia is going to join NATO?
Yes, the ratification process of our NATO accession protocol is going well.
Are you optimistic that North Macedonia is going to join the European Union?
To a certain level, less than on the case of NATO, and it's going to be a much more uphill battle and a much longer battle. We've learned from our history that there's no guarantees.
Got the EU flag up here.
Yes, that is now in the next step. The European Union must make decision. We make from our side, now they need to deliver.
Prime Minister Zaev has a more personal concern. That delay could lead to a backlash that will undermine his coalition in parliament and cause his government to fall.
They'll destroy your government.
Yes, completely. The majority will be dismissed.
So the stakes are high.
Yes, very high.